President Trump, we are told, erupting after learning about the shocking op-ed that Savannah just read in part. Volcanic is how multiple allies and aides familiar with his thinking describe the president's mood. The writer details a quiet resistance of appointees who work for the president. President Trump pushing back overnight, tweeting, "I'm draining the swamp and the swamp is trying to fight back. Don't worry, we will win."
This morning, a warning rattling the White House from within. President Trump lashing out after the New York Times published an unprecedented anonymous essay from a source described as a senior official inside his own administration.
There's an anonymous op-ed from the New York Times that says, "I am part of the resistance inside the Trump administration."
When you tell me about some anonymous source within the administration, probably who's failing, and probably here for all the wrong reasons. If the failing New York Times has an anonymous editorial, can you believe it? Anonymous, meaning gutless, a gutless editorial. We're doing a great job.
Later in a series of tweets asking simply treason before challenging the author's existence, demanding if the person does indeed exist, the Times must, for national security purposes, turn him or her over to government at once. That explosive op-ed detailing a secret group of top aides, quote, working diligently from within to frustrate parts of his agenda and his worst inclinations. I would know, the author writes, I am one of them. The bombshell triggering an intense guessing game inside the West Wing and across the nation's capital. Explaining its decision, the Times insists the writer's job would be jeopardized if their identity was revealed. The official praising some of the president's successes in the op-ed, but arguing they've come despite, not because of, the president's leadership style. The group's mission, quote, to do what we can to preserve our democratic institutions while thwarting Mr. Trump's more misguided impulses until he's out of office. One particularly stunning allegation, the official describes early whispers within the cabinet of invoking the 25th Amendment to remove the president. But no one wanted to precipitate a constitutional crisis. Americans should know that there are adults in the room, this person adds. We fully recognize what is happening, and we are trying to do what's right, even when Donald Trump won't. All of it punctuating another dramatic day, the president already fixated on fear, Bob Woodward's new book, that portrays the White House in the midst of a, quote, nervous breakdown.
The book means nothing. It's a work of fiction. And if you look back at Woodward's past, he had the same problem with other presidents. He likes to get publicity, sell some books.
Woodward telling NBC News he stands by his reporting.
The White House was clearly stunned by this op-ed. To take you to behind the scenes for a moment, after it was published, I wanted to get the White House's reaction, so I went into the West Wing, handed a printed copy of the op-ed to Bill Shine. That's the president's top communications official. He said it was the first that he had heard of it. Sarah Sanders, the press secretary, later posted a statement that said in part, "This coward should do the right thing and resign." Savannah?
All right, Peter, couple things. I mean, what is the New York Times saying about who this might be or what kind of vetting they did? And what about the guessing game? Because I can imagine the finger pointing is on at the White House.
Well, this morning, first of all, we're hearing from the New York Times opinion editor saying that they felt 100% confident that this senior official was who they say they were, that they did background checks and the like. They also indicated, the opinion editor did, that the New York Times will at no point reveal this person's identity. As for that guessing game, it is fierce this morning. Twitter immediately latched onto the writer's use of the word lodestar. That's a word the vice president has used in speeches from time to time. So was it Vice President Pence? His office this morning definitively denies it was him. Keep in mind, to disguise their anonymous statements, officials in this administration routinely use language that might sound like somebody else just to cover their tracks. In India today, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo this morning says he didn't do it. The bottom line, inside the West Wing, there really is this intensifying sense of betrayal. White House staffers don't know who they can trust. The president doesn't know who's loyal to him and who's out to get him. Savannah and Hoda.
All right, Peter, thank you.